All right, Shalom. I'm going to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shema, Shai, by Shemar Kakwadash. Double honor to the apostle, that is a great millstone. Shalom to all the Akim out there pushing the word of sincerity and in truth. It's the brother Barzal. And I just want to do this lesson on this article that popped up. I was actually going through certain images I had took pictures of, and I just started to go more in depth to re-verify through said respective news stations or in respective media broadcast sites, so to speak. But anyways, it led me to here. What was I looking up? Oh, they got list of ancient great powers, and I was actually just looking up something pertaining to scientists was looking into ancient superpowers, pretty much saying that there's hidden genes where man will actually tap into or has the ability to tap into, not just general, but through said time of pretty much spiritual power. But this just popped up out of nowhere, and I'm going to speak on this too because it's speaking about list of ancient great powers. I was like, well, that sounds pretty interesting. Let's see if they got the biblical lineup, which we know of, the major figureheads that's going to be in this war that's going to take place in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is Yahweh Shaphat, which is the Most High's judgment. All right, Judgment Day is looming. We're seeing a lot of these different nations build economic treaties within the Eastern realm. All right, such as BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And you have, of course, the EU, NATO, which you have the 7 heads and the 10 horns. All right, and the horde that rideth the beast, that's the beast system. The horde that rideth is America. And America is renowned for their great influence, which that's what was pretty heavy, which I seen the sphere of influence and pertaining to. So they got great nation right here, list of ancient great powers. And it says recognized great powers came about first in Europe during the post-Napoleonic era. The formalization of the division between small powers and great powers came with the signing of the Treaty of Shumont, if I pronounce it correctly, in 1814. A great power is a nation or state that through economic, political, and military strength is able to exert power and influence over not only its own region, but beyond to others. Yeah, and no nation has been able to spread their wings, like it says in the book of Psalms. I have seen the wicked in power spread themselves like a green bay tree. Now, America itself has been influenced by major nations. The Roman Empire, which they have the Colosseum. And Rome took a lot of its motivations from Greece, and so on and so forth, the predecessor nations, and we know, and today, America is that standing nation, and they have major foes, which the enemies of America are Russia, China, Iran, which Iran would be looked at as a lesser nation of the three, because those would be the 3 superpowers, but they have a lot of ties, and they have a pretty strong military might, and they move independently. They don't have the Western tentacles controlling their political spectrum, as well as the business market or the financial market, as we see, the IMF, the Federal Reserve. It's a few nations that they wasn't able to crack, and Iran, as well as a few others, aren't associated with America. So I wanted to, let me see if I can find this sphere of influence. Let's see. Sphere of influence. So yeah, this article popped up from there, which it says this in the field of international relations, a sphere of influence is a spatial region or concept division over which a state or organization has a level of cultural, economic, military, or political exclusivity. Exclusivity. So that's America on a whole. You see the Western Hemisphere. You see what it says, the Monroe Doctrine, which I don't know too much about that. I'm gonna look into it. Let's see. The Monroe Doctrine is a United States foreign policy position that opposes European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere. That's why America's that whore, because they move at their own whim. It holds, and it said that the little horn took up three. It holds that any intervention in the political affairs of the Americas by foreign powers is a potentially hostile act against the U.S., which is a doctrine. It says the doctrine was central to American grand strategy in the 20th century. Yeah, so the more you dig into the structure of this place, and you see they got the good old boys, John Quincy, James Monroe. Yeah, and it's all still centered around the sphere of influence. If you go the more you go into America, you see that this place has always wanted to retain its control through evil means, wicked means, Western idolization. Back in the ancient world, you had Hellenization. And as if you was an Israelite and you lived in Greece, you know, the realm of Greece, you would be put to death for worshiping Yahweh Shema Shah, worshiping the Heavenly Father. Excuse me, at that time before Yahweh Shah was even born, you know, Yahweh, you know, and following the Israelite culture, you would be put to death. All right. So same thing with Babylon. You had the same thing take place in the Medo-Persian Empire. And in America, they really pushed that same energy through a different means, because you have blackballing. You know, you see how certain nations get blacklisted. You have embargoes. You know, you got different ways that they'll make sure that you don't have any type of you will be resourcefully cut off if you don't follow the ways and drink of the wine of America. That's the wine that's written of in the scriptures. Influence. So in this, which is philosophy, when it flows through you, it becomes influence. All right. In the field of international relations, a sphere of influence is a spatial region or concept division over which a state or organization has a level of cultural, economic, military, or political exclusivity, like I read earlier. While there may be a formal alliance of other treaty obligations between the influence and the influencer, such formal arrangements are not necessary, and the influence can often be more of an example of soft power. Let's see what soft power goes into. Soft power is the ability to co-opt rather than coerce, and contract with hard power. It involves shaping the preferences of others through appeal and attraction. So hard power, use of military and economic means to influence. Yeah, so Esau will hit you with the soft, and he'll play the quelling game. You know, but if you don't go that way, then they're going to bring in the big guns. You know, that's where you have the liberations. You will have different ways in which, you know, they'll try to get their way, you know, but then if that doesn't work, then like, all right, well, we're going to just start axing you down, and we're going to push propaganda. We're going to use all of our strategies and our witchcraft, because that's all it is witchcraft. All this terminology, ways of seducing, alluring, manipulation, Western, like I said, the sphere of influence. That's all witchcraft in a whole, because the scripture says, "What envy not the oppression, neither choose any of his ways." Us as a people, we are a holy people. We're not supposed to live and conduct ourselves according to the standard that the white man conducts himself. We're two different nations. The Lord made us as such, and see, that's why this man uses the force of the sword, which he was blessed through Isaac to do so, and he comes down with the war hammer, pursuing the Isaiah the 14th chapter upon all nations. But guess what? The Lord is going to chop that. He's really chopping that hammer in half. All right, breaking up the strong influence, and that's why nations are pulling away. They're detaching themselves from America, KKK. Like Tupac had that song back in the day, was America with the 3 Ks. But this is Deuteronomy 4:6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. Yeah, that's what makes us holy and strong. All right, the statutes, the judgments, the law, and even also having faith in the true power. That's why the Lord told us don't have any nation reign over us. Don't vote any other nation within your dwelling quarters, because it's something that's embedded within people to want their own. If you're a lion and you're in a hyena territory, first thing you want is more lions there, because you're going to feel uncomfortable. Because the nature of a hyena is to hunt lions or to find prey, which the lions are in the way. So they're an enemy. They don't actually hunt them for prey, but if they're in the way, then they're going to try to find a way to usurp their strength. All right. Likewise, lions, they hunt hyenas, and of course, lions are significantly stronger than hyenas. But if the opportune time presents itself where a hyena can catch a lioness or a maimed lion in its low point, they're going to capitalize off of that. And us, when we was ever in a position of straits, we seen how this man has capitalized off of our lows and killed us, maimed us, poisoned our water, poisoned our food supply, poisoned our air. Look at the Native Americans, smallpox and influenza. You had the Trail of Tears. You had the Tuskegee experiment. You had the Puerto Rican cancer experiment. You had all these different tactics that took place from the hand of this man. But it says, we shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great who hath the Most High so nigh unto them, as the Lord our power is in all things that we call upon him for? Verse 8, and what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I have set before you this day? And that's why we have to cleave unto our power, and believe in him, because he's the true reason why we get through all this. This devil tries to make it seem like, through his psychology, that he's really taking care of you and he's the one that's, without you, you be nothing. I heard it say, we just be Africans swinging on trees. That's bullshit. You had civilization, pre-colonialism. All right, in advancement of technology and things of that nature, we would be significantly more advanced, But this devil has poisoned us and poisoned our mind frame to the point that we have Stockholm syndrome, and you have another term, learned helplessness, where we learn to just be extremely dependent on this man for all things. And that's part of the curses. That's a curse, to look at this man for help and relief, when we're supposed to be a strong nation and look up upon our true power, which is Yahweh Shema Shah. I didn't want to make this too long. I got to head out and get a few affairs taken care of. But I just wanted to speak on that, because this man he has a strong influence, and he's spread out like the eagle. But the Lord is going to put him down. All right. And he's going to kill that false deception, the waters of lies that has been showered upon the masses of the people, and bring about the whole truth in its entirety, which is starting now with the brothers and the few that subscribe to Great Millstone, because we teach the truth and 100% truth. So with that, I'm going to end by giving all praise and glory to Yahweh Shema Shah, Shema Kakodash. Double honor to the apostle that is Great Millstone. Shalom, Michael.